It Gets Real with Carenna. Each week, Carenna will discuss serious topics and is not shy to tell you how it is. On her show, she covers day-to-day situations and provides her opinion along with feedback from her listeners.
Hello, welcome back to It Gets Real with Carenna. And if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. This is a space where we don't have to pretend that life is perfect. We don't have to pretend that we have everything figured out. We don't have to show up as the polished version of ourselves all the time. We can just be real. And today, we're getting really real because today's episode is called Me versus Me. And I chose that title because for a long time, I thought I was competing with everybody else. I thought I needed to look like somebody else, live like somebody else, have what somebody else had, be further along, be prettier, be smaller, be more successful, be more confident. And I spent so much time looking around at everybody else that I didn't realize the person I really needed to compete with was me, the old me, the version of me that didn't know her worth, the version of me that was lost. The version of me that didn't always love herself. The version of me that didn't know what her life was supposed to look like. And when I look at that woman today, I don't hate her. I don't judge her. I don't wish she never existed. Because that woman got me here today. And that's what I want to talk about. Elevation. Not just physical elevation, but mental elevation, emotional elevation, spiritual elevation, the elevation that happens when you finally decide, I can't keep living like this. There was a version of me that was in a really dark place. And when I say dark, I don't mean that I had everything figured out and just wasn't happy. I mean, I was genuinely lost. I didn't know my worth. I didn't always see the value in myself. I was carrying things emotionally. I was unhappy with myself. And physically, I was at a place where I didn't feel good about myself either. I was very overweight. And I want to be careful when I say that because I don't want anybody listening to this who may be struggling with their weight to believe that your size determines your worth. It doesn't. Your body does not determine your value. Your weight doesn't determine whether you're deserving of love. Your appearance doesn't determine whether you are enough. But for me, at that point in my life, my physical appearance was connected to how I felt internally. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel like myself. And there was a point where I had to look in the mirror and ask myself, Carenna, is this really the life you want for yourself? And that question changed something in me. Because sometimes your life doesn't change until you become honest with yourself. Not Instagram honest. Not I'm fine honest. Not everything happens for a reason honest. I'm talking about the kind of honest where you sit with yourself and say, I'm not okay. I'm not happy. I don't love who I've become. I know I'm capable of more. And that doesn't mean you hate yourself. Sometimes acknowledging that you want more is actually the beginning of learning to love yourself. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about elevation is that people think elevation means becoming a completely different person. But I don't think that's what happened to me. I didn't become somebody else. I became more of myself. I started discovering the woman that had been inside of me the entire time. She was just buried underneath fear, insecurity, doubt, pain, disappointment, and sometimes just survival. And that's something I want somebody listening to understand. Maybe you're not lazy. Maybe you're exhausted. Maybe you're not unmotivated. Maybe you've been surviving. Maybe you're not behind. Maybe you've been healing. Maybe you haven't lost yourself. Maybe you're actually in the process of finding yourself. And I had to learn that about myself. My elevation didn't happen overnight, guys. There wasn't one magical morning where I woke up and suddenly had confidence. It was a process. It was a very lonely process. It was small decisions. It was choosing myself again and again and again. It was changing the way I talked to myself. It was becoming intentional about what I allowed into my life. It was realizing that everybody doesn't deserve access to me. It was learning boundaries. It was learning discipline. It was learning that motivation isn't going to show up every day. And sometimes you have to do the thing even when you don't feel like doing it. That's growth. Growth isn't always glamorous. Sometimes growth looks like crying and still getting up the next morning. Sometimes growth looks like saying no. Sometimes growth looks like walking away. Sometimes growth looks like starting over. Something I've done plenty of times. Sometimes growth looks like being alone because you're no longer willing to surround yourself with people who keep you in the same place. And sometimes growth looks like finally looking in the mirror and saying, I deserve better from myself. Not just better from other people, better from me. That's where me versus me comes from. Because I realized that I couldn't keep blaming everybody else for the life I was living. I had to take ownership. And ownership isn't always comfortable because it's easy to say they hurt me. They didn't believe in me. They didn't support me. They did this. They did that. And sometimes those things are absolutely true. People can hurt you. They can disappoint you. They can betray you. People can mistreat you. But eventually, you have to ask yourself, okay, what am I going to do with what happened to me? Because I can't change what happened, but I can decide what happens next. And that was a major turning point for me. I started understanding that my past could either become my prison or it could become my testimony. And I chose testimony. I started looking at my old self differently. Instead of saying, why was I like that? I started saying, wow, look at what she survived. Instead of saying, I can't believe I allowed that, I started saying, she didn't know what I know now. And I think we have to give ourselves permission to grow without constantly punishing ourselves for who we used to be. Because how can you become your future self if you're constantly attacking your past self? You can't. You have to forgive yourself. You have to give yourself grace. You have to say, I didn't know then, but I know now. And now that I know, I can move differently. And let me tell you something about elevation. Everybody is not going to understand it. When you start changing, people who were comfortable with the old you may not understand the new you because they're used to having access to a certain version of you. They're used to you being available. They're used to your reactions. They're used to what you tolerate. They're used to the old boundaries. And when you change those things, they may say, you've changed. And you know what? Maybe I have. Maybe that's the point. I don't want to stay the same forever. Just because my old version made other people comfortable, I want to grow. I want to evolve. I want to elevate. And if that means some people don't recognize me anymore, that's okay. Because I'm finally recognizing myself. Another thing I've learned is that elevation isn't just about what people see. Because people can see the outside. They can see the confidence. They can see the glow up. They can see all of the changes. They can see the way you dress. They can see the accomplishments. But they don't always see what happened behind the scenes. They don't see the nights you cried. They don't see the moments you question yourself. And they definitely don't see the discipline. They don't see the sacrifices. They don't see the conversations you had with yourself. They don't see the moments where you wanted to give up, but didn't. And that's why I don't want anybody to look at me now and think, wow, she has it all together. Because I'm still growing too. I'm still learning. I'm still becoming. I'm still having days where I have to remind myself who I am. And that's okay. Elevation doesn't mean you never struggle again. Elevation means you know how to handle the struggle differently. And I want to speak directly to the woman who is listening to this right now. And maybe she doesn't recognize herself. Maybe you're looking in the mirror and you're unhappy. Maybe you're in a relationship that doesn't feel right. Maybe you're in a job that drains you. Maybe you're surrounded by people who don't celebrate you. Maybe you're carrying shame about your past. Maybe you feel like everybody else is moving forward and you're still standing still. Maybe you're saying, Carenna, I don't even know where to start. Start with you. Start with one decision, one boundary, one habit, one honest conversation, one prayer. One morning where you decide you're not going to speak badly about yourself. One day where you choose discipline over excuses. One moment where you say, I deserve to see what happens if I actually become the woman I know I can be. You don't have to transform your entire life tomorrow. Just take the next step. And I want to talk about comparison because comparison will steal your joy so quickly. You could be doing amazing, and then you get online and you see everybody else, their life, their relationship, their body, their houses, their career, their business, their vacations, their accomplishments. And suddenly you feel like you're behind. But you're looking at somebody else's chapter and comparing it to yours. You don't know what they went through to get there. You don't know what they're dealing with privately. And more importantly, their journey isn't yours. Your only real competition is you. Can you be better than the woman you were yesterday? Can you be more disciplined than you were yesterday? Can you love yourself more than you did yesterday? Can you make a better decision today? Can you heal something today? Can you forgive yourself today? Can you get one step closer to the woman you want to become? That's the competition. Me versus me. And here's the beautiful thing. I'm not trying to destroy the old Carenna. I'm trying to honor her because she made it through. She kept going. She survived seasons that I thought would break me. And now I get to live in a way that she probably couldn't even imagine. That's so powerful to me. Because sometimes the person you are today is the answer to a prayer your younger self prayed. Think about that. The confidence you have now, the peace you have now, the opportunities you have now, the boundaries you have now, the way you love yourself now. Maybe your younger self was praying for that. Maybe she didn't know how to get there, but she kept going. And now you're here. So if I could sit across from my younger self today, I think I would tell her, Carenna, you are not worthless. You are not behind. You are not too much. You are not unlovable. You are not your mistakes. You are not your weight. You are not the opinions people have about you. You are not the things that happen to you. You are still becoming. And one day, you're going to look back at this version of yourself and you're going to be so proud that you didn't give up. And I think that's what I want this entire episode to be about. Not perfection, progress. Not becoming somebody else, becoming yourself. Not competing with everybody around you, competing with the limitations you placed on yourself. So here's my question for you while I'm trying not to cry because this hits home and this conversation is personal to me. But God told me to share it with the world because I know that it is going to help someone. But I really want you to just think, like, who are you becoming? Like, who are you really becoming? Not who does Instagram want you to be. Not who does your family want you to be. Not who does your partner want you to be. Not who does society tell you that you should be. Who do you want to become? I know that's deep. But what does the elevated version of you look like? How does she speak? How does she carry herself? What does she tolerate? What does she no longer tolerate? How does she love? How does she show up? How does she handle disappointment? How does she handle success? What does she believe about herself? And then ask yourself, what do I need to change today to get closer to her? Because you don't become her someday. You become her through the decisions you make today. And I want to leave you with this. Your glow up isn't just what people can see. Your real glow up is what happened inside of you. It's when you stop begging people to see your worth because you finally see it yourself. It's when you stop chasing things that don't want you. It's when you stop shrinking yourself to make other people comfortable. It's when you stop allowing your past to dictate your future. It's when you realize that peace is more valuable than proving a point. It's when you realize that discipline is an act of self-respect. It's when you realize that walking away can be an act of love for yourself. It's when you stop asking, why isn't my life like theirs? And start asking, what can I do with the life I've been given? That's elevation. And I'm still elevating. I'm not standing here saying I've arrived because I haven't. I'm still becoming. I'm still learning. I'm still healing. I'm still growing. But the difference is, I finally believe that I deserve to become everything I'm capable of becoming. And I want you to believe that too. So the next time you find yourself comparing yourself to somebody else, come back to yourself. Come back to your journey. Come back to your purpose. Come back to your progress, because your only competition is the person you were yesterday. It's you versus you. And baby, I choose me every time. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I thank you for allowing me to be very vulnerable with you guys. I thank you for listening to my story. And if something I said today touched you, I want you to remember one thing. You are not alone. You are worthy. And you are not stuck. You are not finished. You are not too far gone. You are still becoming. And your next chapter can look completely different from your last one. This is It Gets Real with Carenna. And around here, we're going to keep it real. We're going to keep growing. We're going to keep elevating. And most importantly, we're going to keep choosing ourselves. Until next time, I love you. Keep becoming. And I'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.